I got my family to believe I lost my voice for a month to teach them a lesson for dominating every holiday conversation. Nina, a 31-year-old woman, has always been the quiet observer in her family, someone who listens more than she speaks, waiting for the right moment to join the conversation. But in her loud, fast-paced family, that moment never comes. Every holiday, be it Thanksgiving, Christmas, or a summer barbecue, follows the same pattern. She tries to speak, but no one seems to notice. Her older brother, Jake, is a loud, dramatic storyteller, and her younger sister, Bella, thrives on being the center of attention, often cutting others off to reclaim the spotlight. Even their parents, constantly busy or distracted, rarely make space for Nina's voice. Whenever she tries to chime in, someone talks over her, changes the subject, or ignores her completely, like she's invisible at her own family's table. At Thanksgiving, Nina was bursting to share huge news. A hard-earned promotion she'd spent 2 years working toward. She tried to bring it up multiple times, but each attempt was steamrolled. Bella jumped in to talk about a neighbor's dog, her mom interrupted from the kitchen asking about gravy, and Jake hijacked the moment with a gym story. By the time dessert was served, Nina had given up. She left early, not out of anger, but with a hollow sense of being completely unseen. That night, sitting alone in her apartment, she had an idea. Not revenge, more like an experiment. What if, at the next family event, she didn't say anything at all? What if she removed her voice from the equation entirely? Would anyone even notice she was quiet, let alone miss what she had to say? With that, she made a plan. She'd fake losing her voice for Christmas. Not to punish them, but to hold up a mirror. When Christmas rolled around, Nina arrived early, holding a casserole in one hand and a notepad and whiteboard in the other. Around her neck hung a sign, "I'm okay, just on vocal rest." She had faked a case of laryngitis and prepped for the night with short written responses. Her mom reacted with theatrical concern, fluttering around her like she was on the verge of collapse. Jake laughed it off, joking that she was just dodging political debates. Bella smirked like it was some kind of stunt. But then something shifted. People started waiting for her to write. They actually read her messages. Her dad offered her a drink and stood there patiently while she pointed to her choice. When her cousin asked what she'd been up to, Nina wrote, "Promotion at work." And for once, nobody talked over her or pivoted to their own story. Even Jake passed the board to Bella without making a crack, and her dad, someone who'd never really asked about her job before, leaned in and asked what kind of promotion it was. She scribbled out the details, and for the first time his reaction wasn't distracted or dismissive. He looked impressed. It was subtle but powerful. The silence made space. And her family, perhaps for the first time, finally stepped into it. By New Year's Eve, Nina was still voiceless. She showed up at her cousin's low-key party with her now familiar whiteboard and notepad in tow. At first, things felt casual. Small talk, snacks, light music. A few people smiled and nodded, used to the act by now. But the vibe wasn't the same as Christmas. The novelty had worn off, and her silence made people uncomfortable. Her aunt made a backhanded comment about how peaceful she looked without speaking, like muting Nina was somehow an improvement. Jake joked behind the drinks table that next time she might stop breathing if someone talked over her. The humor landed awkwardly. Then Bella snapped. Loud and sharp, she accused Nina of pulling this ridiculous act just to get attention. The room went still. Nina didn't flinch. She simply wrote, "You don't need to yell. I'm right here." Bella's face tightened, and their mom quickly pulled her aside to whisper something out of earshot. From that point on, Bella avoided Nina completely. No eye contact, no interaction, not even a goodbye. Meanwhile, their dad watched from a distance. He didn't say much, but this time when he looked at Nina, it wasn't the usual glazed-over look. It was focused. Like he was seeing something for the very first time. At her niece's birthday party, the dynamic shifted again, but this time the tension was more personal. Nina arrived early, wearing a laminated card that explained she was on vocal rest but otherwise fine. Bella opened the door with a forced smile and a tired sigh, clearly annoyed the silence experiment was still going. Throughout the party, Bella made it her mission to undermine Nina. Every time Nina tried to write something down, Bella would interrupt, speaking over her or translating what she assumed Nina was trying to say, even when Nina hadn't written a word yet. It got worse when Nina wrote a playful question for one of Bella's friends, "How long have you known Bella?" and before the friend could read it, Bella jumped in to answer on everyone's behalf, shutting the moment down completely. But people started noticing. The younger cousins watched closely. One even mimicked Nina in a playful way, pretending to be inside a silent box. And while Jake tried to turn it into a joke, It didn't land the way he expected. Nina's dad stayed quiet again, but not distant. His gaze wasn't distracted like it used to be. It was steady, focused. He was paying attention in a way he never had before. And when someone finally snapped, Bella, again with a bitter comment about how Nina's silence was just about control, the room went still. Their mom rushed to smooth things over, brushing off Bella's behavior with excuses. But it was too late. Without raising her voice or saying a word, Nina had shifted something. Her silence didn't make her smaller anymore. It made her impossible to ignore. A few days after the birthday party, Jake surprised Nina with a text, short and direct. Dinner. Just us. Your place or mine. She hadn't heard from him personally in months. Curious but cautious, she invited him over. At first it was awkward small talk, weather, traffic, sports, but Jake kept glancing at her board, clearly waiting for her to break character. When she didn't, he finally gave in and said what was really on his mind. He told her he'd gone back and watched a video clip his girlfriend had taken at a family dinner 2 years ago. He was trying to prove to himself that Nina had been exaggerating. But watching it twice, he saw the truth. She started talking 3 times and didn't finish a single sentence. That moment hit him. He looked shaken, and he wanted to do something about it. Jake said he was planning a game night, something light, fun, inclusive, but with one big rule: no interruptions. If someone cut in, they'd lose their turn. Simple, direct, unavoidable. For the first time, it felt like someone in her family wasn't just acknowledging the problem, they were actively trying to change it, not with apologies or excuses, but with actions. And Jake wasn't dragging her back to who she used to be. He was finally meeting her where she was. Game night arrived, and true to his word, Jake had set the tone. On the wall, a big handwritten sign read, "Interrupt equals lose your turn," complete with a smiley face to soften the blow. The living room was rearranged, snacks were out, and Jake explained the rules like a camp counselor. They played a storytelling game, each person adding 1 sentence to a shared tale. No interruptions allowed. And shockingly, it worked. People hesitated, waited their turn, even sat through pauses without jumping in. The pace was slower, but the space felt more respectful. Like, for once, everyone had permission to be heard. Midway through the night, something clicked. One cousin admitted they'd started noticing how often they cut people off, something they hadn't realized until Nina went silent. Another nodded, echoing the same. Then Bela, arms crossed and clearly uncomfortable, muttered from across the room, "Okay, so Nina wins. She made everyone feel guilty. Now she's the queen of silence." Jake didn't miss a beat. "She didn't make us feel anything. We just finally noticed." Later, as people were cleaning up, Bella approached Nina quietly. She looked around to make sure no one was watching, then leaned in and whispered, "I don't get it, but I'm sorry. I guess we didn't really see you." Nina didn't rush to respond. She just nodded. Not out of spite, but because sometimes silence says everything. Eventually, Nina sent a simple message to the family chat. "Hey, it's Nina. I got my voice back. Let me know if you're still willing to listen to it." Responses trickled in. One cousin sent clapping emojis. Another replied, "Always." But the one that mattered most came from Jake. "Thanks for giving us a chance to fix it." A few days later, her mom invited her to a quiet dinner. Nothing fancy, no holiday chaos, just 6 of them. Her parents, Jake, one cousin, Bella, and Nina. The table was calm, the conversation wasn't rushed. For the first time, Nina's voice didn't have to compete to be heard. When she spoke, her mom asked follow-up questions. Jake genuinely wanted to know what games she'd bring to the next family night. Not to mock her, but because he valued her taste. There were no interruptions, no dismissive laughs, no need for notepads or whiteboards. Just eye contact, thoughtful pauses, and space. Real space. For Nina to exist in full. She didn't have to raise her voice or disappear into silence anymore. She had what she'd wanted all along, a seat at the table, and people who were finally listening.